Hello there. Welcome to another video. This one is JoRt versus Raphiel. So I think at this point in time, JoRt was in the low inter sort of bracket. He's sort of an inter these days. Raphiel in the inter bracket. So JoRt definitely underdog going into this. It's going to be a Republic mirror on the map, which is flats. So flats being the one that's full of all these cliffs, easy to wall off. And looking at the food that we've got in store for us here, there's a lot of hunt and a lot of nerfs as well, so quicker T1s, quicker to get into the action, and opens up the way for our mounty tech for the players. You see a great migration of banthas heading their way to JoRt's nursery here, and he's going to want to build the second one, so they should be up to about 16 nerfs or so. Looking at his base, it's kind of weird that the way that the trees were sort of spawned in the back here. There's not a crazy amount of open space, but that looks like a very easy sort of wall off. Actually looks like a very good sort of tech level 3, like fast T3 base. Because you've got carbon in the back that can't really be turreted, so you could wall off. But the rush distance isn't too much if people can get on top of one another, and with the nurseries down, mounties are definitely on the table, and Raphiel really does love to mounty. So we'll see what's in store for JoRt here. Gets those nerfs into the nursery. I'm going to speed it up a little bit just to make it through that early game. 1.3 seems to be the sweet spot really. And second house going down, so typically you can open one house just to get the second nursery a bit quicker because you're saving that 25 carbon until later, until you really need it for the house. And go for the carbon spot here, behind there, get a sort of nice arc there, a lot of space for the workers to get and grab that carbon. It's actually looking like it's 18 nerfs rather than 16, so they get the extra 2. And not really too much else to say. There's a couple of berries, and this will be nice for Raphiel when he decides to if he wants to put a food processor here, because he's sort of farming towards the carbon. The other side of things, he doesn't really want to farm towards there. You could maybe skip the berries on this, the way that the food is. It's not a huge amount of food. It's very slow to gather, but it's 375, so it's a couple of workers for sure. Toronto getting lured there. And the same for Raphiel. He's got a lot on carbon, so I do think he's going to be mounting. Yep, there goes the troop centre being dropped. It's interesting the way that mounties work in this instance, because it's easy to do. Oh, quick troop centre as well for JoRt, so should be okay. People do tend to have like a lot of extra carbon, which is the point I try to make, that with all this extra food influx, it's very quick to actually get up to T2, so defending mounties is a lot easier as well as doing mounties. Power core down. Raph a little bit ahead in this instance. I don't know if JoRt's actually making mounties. I know that Raph's just made one because we heard it being made. Oh, it seems that JoRt's actually missed 4 of his nerfs here. That's really unfortunate. That's like an extra worker on food basically. It's going to be a little bit behind in that regard. And the mounty's on its way now, but JoRt is making mounties, so in this instance he's probably just going to want to have to pull his mountie back because he's behind. And he doesn't want to be 2v1 at home. If he has even mounties and then he has defender's advantage, he should be fine to defend it. But you can see what he manages. You see that Raphiel's rallies his 3rd mountie here, or maybe his 4th one, just to defend, and he's got 2 at home. So he's 2v1 here. And he's still, picking off a couple of workers here and there from JoRt as well. So JoRt just feeling that deficit with a slightly slower build. He has gotten these trooper recruits out now, and he can repair the workers here. He's doing a very good job at that. So I think he's only really lost the 1. And on the other side of things, that Raphiel's quite defended this with his mounties. You can see that only one of these is in combat. The other one's ran up here, the scout, and it's a little bit mechanically taxing for JoRt at the moment, as he's focusing on defending himself here at home. But this should stable out. But Raphiel's going to find these nerfs, and you can see what he decides to do with those. He's going to be BM or just give them to his opponent. And he's just going to send them here to JoRt. There's no need to try and run them round or anything like that. It's just unfortunate that it's not completely even in that regard. But he's definitely ahead here. He's gotten the better of the aggression, and this is just sort of going to even out now into a sort of normal sort of game. I'll have a look at what Raphiel... I see Raphiel's resources are looking quite close to maybe just going T3, and he knows that JoRt can't really do much aggressively to him. He's only hit T2 about the same time as him. He does have some troops he's looking to try and counter, but Raf's keeping his mounties here because he wants to keep these troops from coming across the map so that he can get to T3. Now, the question is whether JoRt can do the same thing and get himself off to T3. You can see he is a bit behind in food, he's had a bit of disruption to his eco, and it's a little bit all over the place. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little bit behind in workers with all that chaos as well. Yep, 3 workers behind. Did lose one of them. Not a huge deficit though, he's somewhat keeping up here. And the safety turret dropped down here just to... if any troops try to get on top of the carbon, because JoRt is making his way across the map here. And I do think there was maybe a bit of a out of sync, or well, probably not out of sync these days, but maybe a bit of a crash or a disconnect, because I will have to change this over to the next recording in a little bit. Like changing the reels in a cinema, because they must have had to restore the game. JoRt gets over here and he pushes the workers off the farms, but you know, it's not too much. Raphiel's not quite hit the button yet, he's struggling a little bit. You could maybe just sell ore and carbon, buy food here, and just tech up. I think that would be the correct play, just to get up as quick as possible. Because it's giving JoRt a lot of time to catch things up here at home. Or maybe he is on his way, that's this thing, it tells you you're on the other play. So he is on his way to T3, that's not good. So it's JoRt on the other hand that maybe needs to do that because he needs to catch up. So it did seem a bit strange that he wouldn't be T3 with how the resources were earlier. A lot of carbon here for Raphiel. Maybe going to go double air base in this instance. Not war center, a strike mech on its way. So maybe a command set. What's he doing with carbon? Confused as to what happened to like 500 carbon. Looks like JoRt's trying to wall up at home, making use of those good spots we pointed out earlier. So the double air base might have been a good call here, really. It does have these mounties though that'll help him get through the wall. And as I said, I'm going to have to meal swap here. Continue the game. So JoRt hits T3. He's got his wall up. There's a few strike mechs out in the map here for Raphiel. And they're running across here to do some damage. Trying to get through these walls. You can see that JoRt's somewhat prepared just in case there was air. He's getting an air base here. Going up to 2 mech factories. And airbase being dropped here for Raphiel. He must have just built a second carbon processor and maybe got some eco upgrades. Maybe upgraded the nerfs with all that carbon he had. So it's looking a bit stable now for JoRt. He's not really taking too much damage off of the tank level 3. He's somewhat kept up in workers, and Raphiel's not dropped like a second command center yet. So he's not pulled ahead in that regard. What workers on ore? How's the CC now? Must be slowing down on the strike mech production since they're not too useful. And he's got double air base, but he's going to make a transport so he can get these strikes in. JoRt does have a mech destroyer though, so he should be okay if something like that happens. I think his biggest fear should be getting overwhelmed by the air here. He does have his scout still alive. It would be great if that was maybe just having a look through the base just to see what might be coming his way. Because just being able to see the double air base should be a huge tell that he should prepare a little bit more for that. And it looks like he's going to try and get like a forward command center here, maybe grab up this Nova. Because he's a little bit contained in here. But if I'm honest, I think he should maybe just have his second and third CC inside here. Just where it's safe. Where are these guys going off to? Is he maybe trying to do a forward? Oh, he's got enough for a fortress. It's pretty dangerous to send these workers out with no units. And while he's thinking about that, Raphiel's going to drop the strike mechs here onto the top of this hill, onto the Nova. And they're going to get a few kills here. Anti-air troopers, which are kind of JoRt's like only sort of differential in an air v air matchup here, are walking straight into these strike mechs and probably going to be picked off. I'm surprised he didn't pick them off, considering he's double air base. You're going to run away to the other side of the base here where the mech destroyers can't quite keep up. And see if you can pick off some workers here. Not too much upgrades, but a few of these workers I think were lowish health, just because of the early aggression of the strike mechs, with the mounties. And it does get a fortress up here, but it seems a little bit unambitious here for JoRt. It's on top of this hill, which is great, but you know, there's resources that could be sort of swallowed up by the range of the fortress, like this ore here. But it is at least going to be maybe some good pressure here on Raphiel if he's thinking about trying to go off to T4. We can see he's dropped a lot of workers onto Nova here on the second command center. And he's really ramping up this air production. It might take a little bit of time before this is sort of live and putting the pressure on. Let's keep an eye on what's going on here. A lot of carbon been built up here by Raphiel. Definitely needs some extra CCs, I think. And some farms for sure. Just needs to spend all that cash. And JoRt looks like he's doing a good job getting some units out on the map and maybe looking to do some sort of counter-attacking. At the moment, that air that we've talked about from the double air base is just showing up and JoRt's just not too prepared for it. But it looks like Raphiel took a lot of casualties there. There was a turret here, it must have been hitting him. He started flowing through there, taking some shots from the anti-air troopers, and the fighter was clicking away at them as well. So that attack sort of petered out here. He's going to be picking up the holocrons, which is going to be big. This being a Republic mirror, you get all that extra Nova from them. And JoRt trying to find a way here into the base, but this is actually the most accessible area, would be this Nova, where he's got a ton of workers here. And this should be a bit of a red flag that he's maybe looking to do some sort of either Jedi play or just go off to T4. And being the player who he is, and being Republic, we could definitely think that he's going to go T4, because it's going to benefit so greatly for these fighters that he's built off the double air base. And not really seeing much yet from this forward. He is making pummels here. There isn't really any MDs and stuff, but I think he does have like a couple of mounties kicking around, which are very good. There's one here. I don't know, I'm not too sure about this. It can be good against the air, but I almost feel like he would have been better off with just strike mechs and artillery. And then just grabbing up this area, because then you could knock him off this Nova, you get both the ores. You can maybe get a second fortress up here. It'd be so good to have the airing player under duress like that. The cannons might be swallowed up, and he needs to just go, because I think he's wasting a lot of time. And see, this fortress is going to go up between the ores now. He needs to go now. Raphiel on his way to T4, and I think he just should have attacked a good couple minutes ago. And that would have caused a lot of stress here for Raphiel. He's running the units back, he needs to get them involved. Waiting for these mounties that are going at the bloody speed of anti-air troopers. He's running the strike mechs in. I don't know if he's maybe going to try and pull the units away. I think he should have really just kept them there though to keep the mounties off of his pummels. I think he's just taking too long to do this. And then he's going to get the indicator that Raf's gone T4, and then he's going to just go, and it's going to be like crashing against rocks with the fortress up now. Going at pummel speed, Fluffy Rabbit style. And the worst part here is because it's a narrow choke, and all these units in the front here, they're blocking out the pummels a little bit. And he does hit T4. And it's kind of just need to stall now as the T4 player and get your air upgraded, because the air is going to do so much damage to these units when it's like advanced fighters. airbase being dropped here. So shields on the way, fast fighters done. Just can't quite afford the advanced fighters yet. Needs a bit more Nova. Fortress will go down, but it's doing its job really and just stalling for him, because once this air's upgraded and live, it can wipe this army and then it can just kill so many workers. The only real defense for it in a sort of 1v1 scenario like this is either having the advanced turrets and probably homing, or having your own air. So as we talked about, the shields here, so they're going to come in and take the trade. You see they do quite a bit of damage to their intended counter, the anti-air mobile. Air always very strong. A lot of Nova here, so you can follow this up with some well, he's got the Holocrons as well. You can follow this up with some Jedi play. Maybe just send in 1 or 2 masters just to convert like a turret or convert like a nursery and just cause a bit of chaos here. And you can sort of just whittle your opponent down and pick them apart with Republic. You can be kind of passive aggressive about it, right? You don't really need to be full out with a direct attack. You can whittle them down and make sure you get completely ahead, and then you can, you know, do a forward with some repeater troopers or something like that. You know, in the sort of echo chamber of the 1v1, the harassing units are just so strong. I'm just hoping the volume is not too high from the game here, because it's a bit high for me, but what I hear and what you hear in the video is not the same. As you can see, the economy is sort of just shut down. It's like a lockdown here in JoRt space. And the air can just be completely annoying. Now, a couple of ways you can follow up with some masters, but they might not be able to make their way into the base. They could convert and get in that way. He does have that transport probably somewhere. Yeah, it's still here in the base. You can maybe make use of that. And you can also use bombers as well. But I personally think the masters and just getting ahead and then following it up with a forward shortly after would be the best way if your opponent does not quit by then. Looks like he converted the heavy weapons factory here. Just to have less of those shenanigans, I suppose. A couple of bounty hunters out here, but they're not going to be at home where the masters are looking to be dropped. So there'll be 3 masters. Looks like he's making a bit more. A couple of troop centers being dropped. Going to come in here and convert things like anti-air turrets, nurseries, just to limit any sort of defense for the air, make that stronger, and JoRt going to have to GG there, and we'll head into the next game here. And we're here on Savannah. And what the hell is this unethical little pond here? That's 600, 800, 1,000 accessible food. It's a really strong spawn there with the pond. 4 Philumps. Are they meant to be his? I'm not too sure what's going on here. Is that a map screw though? No, these like extra. What the hell is this map? I've not really seen this in Savannah, like extra lure. Where's the dewbacks? Oh, they're here. Okay. But yeah, you can go in the shore fish from the get-go here, which is decent enough to keep the command center going. A little bit idle time after basic training, but it should perk up a bit. But the dewbacks would obviously be the best. A little bit of a labyrinth of trees to get them through. Oh, should be fine. This is a huge like bit of extra food here. You could sort of wall it out a little bit as well. Maybe even wall yourself in. grab all that up. Famba seems to have walked quite close to JoRt's command center, or maybe used the scout to bring it a little bit closer, but that's an extra bit of food here for him. So no nerfs at all, so Mounty's probably off the table, but you know, it should be a quickish sort of T2 with all this extra lure and stuff. And no need to really get farms on this map for quite some time. JoRt picking this carbon here. A little bit exposed, I think. This looks like a very nice sort of defensive position if you built your carbon up here. You can sort of wall, and then there's all these trees and stuff, and it's the edge of the map. It'd be really nice. Raph's a lot more simple, just being very close to the command center. Sort of sandwiched between the berries as well, so should be fairly safe with a pond at the front as well. This guy pretending he's working. This guy went to do a house maybe. And Jubag does get lured here. I'll just check how the workers are going. 14-14, that's fine. It's all even. And Jubag getting lured over. I'd say the maps are probably a bit more favourable for Raphiel here, with the pond, the sort of defensive position of it. I mean, if you want to wall this as well in T3, it's not actually too much. It's really nice the way that these long tree clusters have spawned. With the pond as well, just limiting the amount that you need to wall. You could definitely turtle up in T3. And you've got a lot of space to place buildings, you've got all your Nova in the back, your Aura in the back as well. There's JoRt's base, very, very open. Does have like the extra Fambas and stuff, but yeah, I would rate the permeance of the defensive layout a bit higher. Oh. See if we're going to get some of these flumps, these extra flumps. And this is a big differential, these. Might bring a Tuscat with him though. He's going to have to fight the Tuscat for sovereignty over this glade of animals. This would be huge though, I think. Like, for either player, even with a distance, it's a lot of food. Like, I think if these workers were up here, food processor, and just munch all of this. I don't know, I'm kind of weighing in on myself on whether you should just do like forward troop centers with it as well. Just to make sure you're the aggressor. Maybe. I've seen the troop center here for his opponent. You know, yeah, I'd probably just do them here, I think. Try and control. You can wall this, I guess, and just sort of try and control this area. Be the aggressor. What you can do with it as well is like forward turret, knock off the berries and stuff if you get on top of your opponent first. But it looks like he's just going to lure these for lumps as he can. And Raph just being annoying with the scout here. You know, he'll give you your nerfs back, but he'll be all over your workers with the scout. Double troop center down, troop recruit rallying up here. JoRt a bit late on this troop center. His power core. And his T2 as well. So he's got a lot of carbon though. It's not a lot of workers on the cart. A lot of workers building presently. And I think that Raphiel's just going to get on top of him too quickly here. Because he's lured this location's very exposed. And I worry for him because these troops are going to get on top of him way before he's ready for it. He's got to run these, he's going to lose like 2, 3, maybe even 4 workers here. He does have basic training, but a couple of them are low health. There's one. Cancelled auto there. Really, only got one. Cancelled auto really mucked that up a bit. And he should be ready for an ambush here with the troop center. It does get the turret down as well, so this should really be the time just to ambush these troops as they try to sit on top of the turret here, get some free shots. And JoRt's really come out much better there than he should have. So we'll see what he can do with this opportunity to get back in this game now, because he was a little bit behind there in his tech. And he needs to sort of take control of this game because his base is just so open and it's going to be so difficult to wall. Like, walling his base is actually just walling outer parts of the map, probably. Just to make it so much longer for troops to get around. He wants to be the aggressor here. And again, his troops out of position here. He's not thinking about these guys that are just so vulnerable. It's like his biggest food income as well. You know, some of them probably got food on them and they're dying. So 3 workers go down here. And he's still not responded. I'm not too sure why there's workers on Nova at the moment. It's not really anything to gain from that. I don't know if he was maybe thinking about playing defensive and try to T3 before Raphiel or what here, but it just feels like 100 carbon just misaligned. Some of these troopers ran away there and he had a bit of a worse trade without them. Let's see, good turret placement here just to make sure that nothing sort of gets on this position. Because I think this should really be the entry point for this base. And I think if you were pushing and you got a turret up here, you could sort of leapfrog into your opponent. If that happens early on, it'd be quite bad. Eat these fishies. So JoRt looking to be on the aggressive now, and he's maybe going to sneak around this bit that Raphiel's not really walled. He's favouring sentry posts instead this game. Just a little labyrinth of trees. And his troops have been sort of patrolling back and forth, but it looks like he's going to go off towards JoRt now again. He's built a new turret here at the berries. He's still not grabbed up those 2 flumps. And it looks like Raphiel's going to sneak around here now. Put pressure on, maybe just snipe a worker or 2. Can stand on top of the turret. Limit the damage it's doing. And really at this point in time he's just knocking him off with food. Getting ahead in that manner. He's got a lot more farms at the moment. He's eating some of his berries here. But JoRt is being aggressive on the right hand side. He did sneak in this bit past the sentry post. And he's denying some of these farms in this carbon, but at the same time Raphiel's here on top of his farms around the command centre, grabbing a worker or 2 here. And JoRt needs to be a bit more diligent with garrisoning these workers. And he's trying to run these workers here. He's got enough troopers to contest this, but they're all inside the troop centres. And he's trying to make a beeline for the carbon here where there's no turrets covering, but he's just taking a horrible trade with the troops that are defending here for Raphiel. Raphiel just being patient and looks like he's just come out ahead in that instance. I don't know if JoRt's maybe forgot he's got these troops here because he's flung out 3 here, but there's like 7 just sitting in the troop centre. Looks like it's maybe getting a bit too intense for him here in this game. The mistakes are starting to pile up here. And with that trade that Raphiel's taken at home, and what's happened, you know, in the base of what he's scouted, he's going to be pushing back ahead here with his troops and keeping the aggression on. And with this, he's going to feel a lot safer at home and feel like he can get to tech level 3 first and win the game that way. Again, because he's never double turrets here, he can just walk into the carbon and grab workers because the DPS from 1 turret is just not sufficient. And again, there's still these 7 troopers stuck inside the troop centres. He must have really forgotten about them. Because it's just enough that he'd be able to clean this attack up, no problem. A little bit sad to see a mistake like that. Effectively costing them the game here, I think. See, he definitely doesn't know because he's just running around with these guys like it's his only troopers. And it really is about the amount here. He's got, what, 10 maybe? They're going to come back into the carbon. They'll be able to 1 volley workers, I think. So you just shoot and move, shoot and move. 3, 4, 5. 5 workers go down. And JoRt taking a trade here, unfortunately doesn't have enough. Mainly because he's missing a lot of troopers. Raphiel keeping the aggression on here. Making a spaceport all the way out there. Does have a secret carbon down here. Certainly a lot of good spots for a secret carbon. Can be risky, but you know, it can pay off quite well if the game gets messy. And it looks like they're going to collide maybe one last time. Because I'm thinking with the way things are going, JoRt might be ready to pack it in soon. Hiding in the turret. Raphiel almost up to about T3. One building, two buildings down. Doesn't have the mech factory yet because he's started gathering ore recently. But there he is, doing a bit of spaceport magic and off on his way to T3. I think there's going to be a bit of passivity here because you're probably inclined, if you're on your way to T3, you've got this many troops, maybe just keep them, get them up to heavy troopers, get that plus range, and then use them in a push to finish off your opponent. Does invite a little bit of pressure from your opponent, but you know, it can technically bait them into throwing the troopers away easier. And then you'll have an easier time when you push later. Just going to sneak round. I would like to see these sentry posts a little bit further forward so he gets a bit more time. He is on his way. T3 has reached it. Power droid here, sort of powering up this mech factory. Since he's sort of lacking the space, I suppose. Could have probably deleted some buildings. You can see the power droid. At least he's got a backup power droid, although he's running into the troops here. And JoRt causing as much mayhem as he can here, but he's actually running after the power droid there, just into the troops and just losing them for free. Not trading very well with the troopers before they were heavy troopers, and now that they're heavy troopers and they're going to get that plus range, portable scanners on its way, they're going to cause an absolute bit of mayhem here in JoRt space when they reach it. Picking another turret, the scout being annoying, keeping an eye on things, and here come the troops now. But these guys are so strong, when they got plus damage, they can like knock down the power core and stuff, and yeah, he's going to call GG there, and that's going to be it. So Raphiel taking that one 2-0. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you liked this video, please give a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this in the future. If you want to get involved in these games, you'll find the GBG Discord link in the description below. You can join up there and keep an eye on the community, what's going on. Most people play on Voobly. You find voobly.com as a link down there as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.